Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating. It might just change how you think about improving, well, just about anything, sports, health, even just getting through the day. We're exploring this core idea that our ways of seeing how we perceive things internally really shape our ways of doing.
Yeah, it's a really powerful concept. The world isn't just out there for us to passively look at, right? Our perception is active. It's dynamic, and it directly drives how we act, how we perform. So this deep dive, we're looking at this through the lens of Gestalt principles, specifically how they apply in action learning, in coaching.
And we've got some really interesting source material for this. Some of the concepts are tied into the Samba protocol, which features in that new book, The Invisible Injury by Terence J Hughes. The material basically suggests that if you understand these principles, it could be a kind of shortcut.
Exactly. A shortcut pass, just endless tweaking of technique. It's more about tapping into our natural ways of organizing experience.
Right, so our mission today is really to unpack that link. Perception and action. How does shifting how you see something naturally unlock better ways of doing it, honoring our own abilities?
Let's get straight into it then. This core idea. Perception drives performance.
It sounds simple, but it's quite deep, isn't it? The source material really hammers this home. How we act, how effective we are, it all comes down to how we first make sense of the world and, like, what's going on inside us, too.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Before you do anything, your brain's got to process what's happening, right? Decide what's important, connect the dots. That internal organization, your perception, that dictates what actions are even
And,
possible.
and that's the link to coaching and action learning, then. If someone's stuck, it might not just be physical, it could be how they're seeing the situation.
Precisely. That's the insight. When you help someone clarify their perception, see the whole thing, the big picture, more clearly something clicks. That clarity sparks new awareness. And new awareness, well, it just naturally opens up more choices for action. So you get this flow. Clearer perception leads to more awareness, which shows you more choices, leading to better action. It's almost organic.
Ah, okay, so that's the shortcut idea starting to click for me. You're not forcing an action from the outside. You're helping shift something inside. The perception and the right action kind of emerges.
Exactly. You're working with the person's system, not fighting against it. And to help us see how this perceptual stuff works, the source brings in these 6 key Gestalt principles. They're basically like fundamental ways our brains automatically organize stuff into meaningful wholes, and they become really practical tools.
Okay, let's dive into these 6. They sound a bit academic maybe, but the application seems really practical. First one, figure ground.
Right, figure ground. This is all about attention, essentially. It's how we pick out an object, the figure from everything else, the background. Super vital. Otherwise, it's just noise, right?
So in coaching, it's about helping someone focus. What needs to be the figure, the main thing, and what should fade into the background so they can act smoothly.
Exactly. The example from the source is great, the tennis player. Imagine they're totally fixated on how they're holding the racket. The racket becomes the figure, but the ball, the actual important thing coming at them, is just kind of blurry background noise.
Okay, yeah, I can picture that. Focusing so much on the how that they miss the what.
Precisely. So the coaching move isn't necessarily hold your racket like this. It's helping them shift their perception so the ball, its speed, its path becomes the clear figure. When the ball is the focus, the complex stuff with the racket can actually become more automatic, more responsive. It falls into the background, handled subconsciously. The action changes because the attention, the perception changed first.
That makes a lot of sense. Prioritizing what matters, what's next?
Second principle, proximity.
Proximity. Right, things close together, we see them as related. Simple enough. In space or time.
And this is really key for helping learners connect things they might see as separate, maybe different skills or different parts of a process. But if they happen close together, our brain wants to group them.
Like the example of breathing and movement timing. You might think breathing is one thing, moving is another.
Right. But in things like running or swimming, even lifting weights, your breath rhythm and your movement timing are happening right together. They're proximal. So this principle suggests they're perceived as one integrated pattern. A coach uses this to help the athlete feel that connection, not just think about it, see them as linked. It makes the movement smoother, more efficient.
Helping them see the whole pattern, not just the pieces.
Precisely, which leads nicely into the third one, similarity.
Similarity.
Yeah.
Okay. Grouping things that look alike or feel alike. Shared features, shape, color, maybe even the feeling of a movement.
Yeah, and this one is huge for transferring learning. Coaching based on similarity helps people spot underlying patterns that show up in different skills, maybe even different parts of life.
Like that golfer example you mentioned. Teaching a golf swing from scratch, that can be tough.
It really can be. But say the golfer already knows how to throw a ball well. They have that natural throwing motion, a kinetic chain pattern they're good at. Similarities suggests their brain is already wired for that kind of organization. The coach helps them perceive the similarity, the connection between that familiar throw and the golf swing pattern. Once they feel that link, they can tap into what they already know. It's a shortcut because you're building on an existing strength, not starting from zero.
That's really cool, leveraging what's already there. Okay, fourth principle.
Closure.
Closure. This is the brain filling in the gaps, right?
Yeah,
Seeing a whole shape even if parts are missing. Like connect the dots almost.
exactly. And this is so interesting for performance because people often feel like something's missing or incomplete in what they're doing. They can't always say what, though. So the coach uses closure to kind of guide them towards perceiving that missing piece of the puzzle.
The example was the athlete whose jump felt unfinished.
Yes, exactly. They jump, but it feels like it just stops short. Something's not complete. Instead of the coach saying, reach higher, which is instruction, a closure approach helps the athlete perceive the incomplete pattern themselves. You might ask, what feels unfinished there? Or, if that movement kept going naturally, where would it end up? By guiding their attention to the gap, the missing upward reach, the brain naturally wants to complete it, achieve closure. The movement finishes because the perception of the pattern became whole.
So you're not forcing it, you're helping them perceive the intended whole, and the action follows to fill it in. Neat.
It is neat. Okay, fifth principle, continuity.
Continuity.
Yeah.
Flow, right? Our eyes, our brains, they like smooth paths, continuous lines, not jerky stops and starts.
And applying this means helping learners find their body's natural flowing movement pathways, not forcing these sort of rigid, segmented techniques that can feel awkward.
The swimming example really hit this home for me. Teaching fixed arm positions, hand here, elbow there, sounds stiff.
It can feel that way. Instead, using continuity, you help the swimmer perceive the natural, continuous, maybe spiral path their arm wants to take through the water. Feeling that uninterrupted flow from catch to pull to recovery, not just hitting checkpoints. It's about working with the flow of the water and their body's design, finding the smoothest, most efficient path.
Finding the path of least resistance, almost literally.
Yeah. And finally, number 6, symmetry and order.
Okay, this one feels fundamental. We like things to be regular, balanced, simple. We look for order in chaos.
We really do. And in coaching, this translates to helping learners find their own natural sense of organization, their balance, their rhythm. You don't just slap a complex external structure onto them. You help them discover their inherent stability first.
Like the dancer. Instead of starting with complicated steps,
Right. You might start by helping them connect with their center of gravity, their innate sense of balance, their own internal timing. Establish that fundamental symmetry and order first. Once that natural base is felt, then complex patterns can be added. Or maybe they even emerge more organically because there's a stable, organized foundation. You're respecting the system's natural pull towards order.
So these 6 principles, they're like lenses for understanding how we organize what we perceive. But the source also talked about the actual process of engaging with the world, the Gestalt cycle of experience.
Yes, the cycle. It gives us a framework for the natural flow of how we respond to needs or inputs from the world. It's got 7 stages. Sensation, just noticing something. Awareness, making sense of it. Mobilization, getting ready to act. Action, doing the thing. Contact, actually meeting the need or goal. Satisfaction, feeling done, complete. And withdrawal, disengaging, resting, integrating.
It sounds like something we do constantly, big and small, feeling thirsty, getting a drink, feeling satisfied.
Absolutely. And knowing this cycle helps in coaching because you can see where someone might be getting stuck. Where's the interruption in that natural flow? Maybe they're numb at sensation, don't even notice the cue, or stuck in awareness, analyzing forever, or mobilization, they know what to do but feel frozen, or they never feel satisfaction, just jump to the next thing.
So a performance issue might be a block in this cycle, maybe linked back to how they're perceiving things at the awareness stage, or maybe somewhere else.
That's a key insight. The principles help clarify the what of perception, and the cycle helps understand the process of acting on it.
Okay, so how does this all look in actual practice? When a coach is working with someone using these ideas?
Well, it really changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it? The coach isn't the expert with all the answers, telling you what's wrong and how to fix it. They become more of a facilitator, helping you discover your own perceptions. The source mentions specific exercises based on these principles, sharpening figure ground, connecting patterns, exploring closure.
But the big shift seems to be in the questions asked. Not diagnostic questions like, was your elbow at 90
No,
degrees?
exactly. It's about asking questions that help the learner organize their own experience using these principles. Perception-based questions. Instead of watch the ball, maybe what's really standing out for you right now, that's figure ground. Or instead of connect your hips and arms, maybe what connections are you noticing between your lower body and upper body as you move? Proximity, similarity.
And with closure, instead of you stop short, asking, how did that feel? Complete. Or
Yeah.
if it kept going, where would it go? You're prompting their system to find the whole.
Right. And then from that clear perception, you move to action-oriented questions. Okay, now that you notice that, what wants to happen next? Or how do all these pieces feel like they want to fit together now?
Mhm.
The action emerges from the inside out, from their clarified perception.
It's amazing how just changing the kind of question leads to discovery instead of just correction.
And what's really powerful, too, is that these ideas, these principles, they aren't just for individual skills or sports. The source points to much broader uses.
Like team dynamics, you can use these principles to look at how a team is functioning.
Absolutely. You can ask, who's the figure right now? Who's providing the ground, figure ground? Are different parts of the team working in proximity, integrating well, or are they isolated? Are there similarities in how people approach things? Does the team project feel like it lacks closure because steps are missing from their shared perception?
Wow, that's a really interesting way to look at group work. And obviously it applies to movement pattern recognition itself, but maybe differently than just biomechanics.
Yeah, I think so. It's not just angles and forces, it's seeing the natural gestalts. What's the main focus? Figure ground. How are things grouped? Proximity. Are there shared patterns? Similarity. Is the flow interrupted? Closure. What's the smoothest path? Continuity. What's the underlying balance? Symmetry order. It's seeing movement as this integrated perceptual motor whole.
And even designing environments for learning. How you set things up can influence what people naturally pay attention to.
Exactly. Using proximity or similarity in how you present things can subtly help learners make those connections themselves.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly useful. But, like any approach, there must be pitfalls, right? Things to watch out for.
Oh, for sure. The source mentions a few key ones. A big one is overanalyzing. Getting too stuck in your head, breaking things down intellectually so much that you lose the feeling of the whole pattern, the gestalt.
So thinking about the principle stops you from actually experiencing the integrated whole it describes.
Exactly. It's a bit of a paradox. Another one is forcing figure ground the coach, deciding what the learner must focus on, rather than helping them discover their own point of focus. It bypasses their personal awareness.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of facilitating discovery, doesn't it?
Right. Also, ignoring individual patterns, assuming everyone perceives things the same way you do. We all organize experience differently.
And rushing closure.
Yeah, that's a common one. Pushing for a solution or a finished thing before the person has really fully perceived the pattern or worked through the cycle, it can lead to half-baked learning or feeling unsatisfied because the underlying issue wasn't really addressed.
Patience and trusting the process seem vital then.
Absolutely. And that trust, that focus on natural process is why this meshes so well with action learning. They share core values.
Like focusing on the here and now, what's actually happening, rather than getting lost in the past or future plans.
Yes, that present moment awareness. And the belief in personal discovery, the learner finding their own way, and engaging the whole person, mind, body, emotions, all interacting with the environment.
Plus that idea of natural emergence, trusting that the next step will become clear, rather than needing a rigid plan up front.
Exactly. And Gestalt principles give action learning concrete tools to help that happen. Frameworks for guiding attention, spotting patterns, finding flow, reaching that satisfying sense of completion.
It really sounds like the coach's role shifts. Less about having answers, more about creating the right conditions for the learner to find their own answers.
That's spot on. The source talks about the coach needing to be integrated themselves, fully present, creating this kind of level playing field for exploration together. It's deeply relational.
Okay, well, this has been a really rich dive into the power of perception. Let's try and bring it back to the main takeaway.
I think the biggest thing is this. Real sustainable change in how we do things, how we perform, often comes from changing how we see things first. When you shift that underlying perception, the change in action feels less like effort, more like the natural next step. It just happens.
It really honors our own built-in ability to organize ourselves, find balance, find flow. We're designed to learn and adapt, and this approach seems to tap right into that.
And the coach's job becomes creating the space, using these principles as guides to help the learner find that right kind of seeing that unlocks their own intelligence.
Which loops us back to where we started, thinking about the invisible injury and movement intelligence. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could some performance limits or even chronic pains not be just structural, but maybe rooted in these invisible perceptual patterns, a kind of disruption in how we organize our experience?
It definitely opens up that question. What if improving isn't always about fixing a part, but about clarifying perception?
That's a really interesting thought to leave people with. If changing how you see can change how you do, how might exploring your own ways of seeing reveal some unexpected paths forward in an area where you feel a bit stuck right now? Something to mull over.